Howdy, Dennis Bradford here. Let's think some about being, feeling, and doing better. What's the most important fact about me you should know? I'm an as-yet-unsuccessful philosopher. At least etymologically, to be a philosopher is to be a lover of wisdom. To be wise is to live well. A philosopher is someone who is serious about living well. That yields a categorization of human beings into three kinds: non-philosophers, as-yet-unsuccessful philosophers, and sages, successful philosophers. I became a philosopher when I was 17. I've never regretted that decision. I am not yet a sage. Perhaps I shall become one, or perhaps not. Why did I become a philosopher? That's easy. I simply admitted to myself that I wasn't living well and really wanted to live well. If life is worth living, it's worth living well. I really wanted to live well, but I was ignorant of what that meant or how to do it. Therefore, I committed myself to finding out. Looking back, that was the first of two major turning points in my life. The purpose of an undergraduate education is to stimulate an identity crisis in a safe environment and to begin to find a way out of it. College worked for me exactly as it was supposed to work. I earned a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a doctorate in philosophy. I landed a job teaching philosophy, became a tenured professor, and spent 32 years trying to help undergraduates think better about living well. Since 1977, I've enjoyed living on the shore of Conesus Lake, which is the westernmost of the Finger Lakes in upstate New York. The second of the two major turning points in my life occurred when I was 48. My wife of 14 years, who was my best friend as well as my lover, dumped me. She found someone else and moved to Florida. Although I managed to finish teaching that academic year, I fell flat on my face emotionally. It was obvious to me that I'd so far failed to live well. Despite my formal education, I still needed to figure out what to do to live well and then do it. The truth was that I had no idea even how to stand upright emotionally again, much less flourish emotionally. I found myself in the middle of an identity crisis. Was it totally unexpected? Honestly, no. There were inklings I'd had, but I'd managed to push them away by distracting myself. The result of trying to deny reality was predictable. I couldn't sleep for more than 90 consecutive minutes. When I managed to fall into an exhausted sleep, I slept with a loaded .45 caliber pistol on my chest. I couldn't drive down a road without suddenly bursting into tears. I couldn't go to a mall because I couldn't stand to see couples walking hand in hand. What was so wrong with me? I became physically weak. I couldn't manage to squat with 185 pounds, which was then just a warm-up weight. When I now think back about those days, I realize that life was giving me exactly what I needed. It gives us lessons. If we fail to learn them, it will keep giving them to us until death. If we learn them, we are given another lesson and asked to evolve more. It's better to think that life happens for us rather than to think that life happens to us. Lying flat on my face was embarrassing and humiliating. With all the blessings that life had given me, I wondered how I could possibly be lying in such a ridiculous position without a clue about how to rise again. I'm grateful now that that happened. Experiences occur, and we can choose to take them to be either obstacles or opportunities. I decided to get up again. Not knowing what to do, I just started trying things. I recalled reading as an undergraduate certain interesting books such as Kaplow's The Three Pillars of Zen and Watts's This Is It. Could the problem be that spiritually I was a zero? A nearby community college offered an informal course in Tai Chi. I signed up with a lot of skepticism. A week or so later, much to my surprise, I was able to feel the chi move. Maybe there was something to this spiritual stuff after all. Perhaps, I wondered, a stilling meditation might be even better suited to me than a moving meditation. I pulled out Kaplow's book and, as if seeing it for the first time, noticed in its About the Author section that he'd founded the Rochester Zen Center. I looked in the phone book and was rather surprised to find that it had a phone number. I called it. Someone mailed me some information. Not long afterwards, I attended a one-day workshop. I became a trial member. After a year or so, I became a member. Eventually, I even became a formal student of its abbot. I'd finally found a way that worked for me. Those were the two turning points. When I initially encountered philosophy when I was 17, I thought that if it hadn't existed and I'd have been bright enough, I'd have invented it. When I first began meditating about 30 years later, I wondered, where's this been all my life? That was over 25 years ago. I'm not yet wise, but there's been some evidence that I may not have too far yet to evolve, at least to have an initial breakthrough. If it happens, fine. If it doesn't happen, fine. I'm still trying, but I'm at peace with either outcome. I'm grateful that life whacked me upside the head those 2 times. As much hurt as each caused, each was beneficial in the long run. Each realigned my life. There's no doubt left that I'm on the way to wisdom. There's so little fear left, and so much more love than there used to be, that even if I never quite master life, I've come a long way. Perhaps this series of videos may encourage you, which is really what they're about. You are infinitely valuable. To realize that, all you need to do is to reduce egocentric attachments sufficiently. That's the only way to go. Find a classic practice that works well for you and master it. It's not easy, but living well is just that simple. I wish you well. Peace.